Welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Slovakia has passed a controversial amendment criminalizing public criticism of the Beneš Decrees, historic laws that enable the expulsion and expropriation of ethnic Germans and Hungarians after World War II. Critics call it a threat to free expression, while Bratislava defends it as a safeguard of national integrity. Hungary's government remains largely silent, also raising eyebrows. Joining us today on TVP World is István Hegedűs, chairman of the Hungarian Europe Society, a leading voice in European democratic norms as well as minority rights, to explore the legal, political, and regional implications of this move. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
So can you help us understand what exactly does this new amendment law is supposed to criminalize, and how does that intersect with the legacy of the Beneš Decrees?
Well, from a Hungarian perspective, this is very much an old issue. However, it's still with us, history matters. And for the Hungarians, the expulsion of ethnic Hungarians from Slovakia, which once used to be part of the big Hungarian empire, if you want to use this word, is still a very important issue, a historic issue which also defines our present. So all Hungarian political parties and governments used to protest against these Beneš Decrees, which forced Hungarians to leave their homes, so their homeland originally, which was called Upper Hungary from a Hungarian perspective. And even this, if all these stories are, have a long historical background, it matters. And it matters also for those ethnic Hungarians who are still living in Slovakia, in current Slovakia. And all governments used to protest against such measures and laws and discrimination. And this time, Viktor Orbán is relatively silent. And this is a new episode in this long historic fight.
All right, like you said, Orbán is surprisingly quiet about a topic that should concern him, especially as Hungary has been protesting this for a while now. But do you think the silence is a strategic calculation to preserve ties with Slovakia's current government?
Yes, I agree. It seems to me that at the moment and for a while, this is not the old nationalisms which conflict each other anymore, but for Orbán, the more general issue is the conflict between illiberalism and liberal democracies. And for him, Robert Fico, the Slovak prime minister, is an ally, even if he uses anti-Hungarian rhetoric, and now he introduced this change of laws. So Orbán has a problem because he used to be a very nationalist, he might say sovereignist politician, but at the moment his number one enemy is more Brussels than Bratislava. So yes, it's a real change. At the moment, it's the Hungarian opposition, which fights for the rights of ethnic Hungarians living in Slovakia, and it's the government, which, as you said, is quiet or silent.
Do you think this will actually impact Orbán's popularity within the country, seeing that he is traditionally known as the nationalist representative? Do you think that the fact that he is, kind of putting his own country's interest in the back seat when it comes to minority issue is actually going to change that perception?
Maybe step by step, because he's still using this argument in the case of Ukraine, that how much Hungarians living in Ukraine, in the Carpathian region, might use their Hungarian national mother language, mother tongue. So this is an issue for Orbán when it has a reason to attack President Zelensky and the Ukrainian government. But in other cases, including Serbia or Romania, as I said, there are different priorities for a while. which dominates his worldview. And it comes together with his new statement that it's the end of the liberal era, and he's waiting for a new era with what he calls the era of nations. And it comes together with the new security strategy of Donald Trump's presidency, where Trump, just like Orbán, attacks the EU as such. And Orbán is waiting for a new period when he can cooperate with other former nationalists who might still remain nationalists, whilst the number one issue, as I said, is illiberalism. He wants to create something what we call an illiberal international, and that is much more important for him to cooperate with Fico and other non-democratic illiberal leaders than his traditional nationalism.
All right, going back to the amendment to criminalize public criticism of this decree, can you help us understand what does that entail and what changes, what amendment is actually made so that people criticizing it can be criminalized?
Yes, the text of the amendment is very vague, so we don't really know what would happen. And of course, this is very new, and there are no cases yet, no court decisions or anything like that. But it's very frightening for the ethnic Hungarians living in Slovakia, or actually for anybody who criticizes the Beneš Decrees. Of course, for Slovak nationalists, the Beneš Decrees means something very different. It means the sort of foundation of the independent Slovakia, and it's true also for the Czech Republic. But there is no conflict between the Czech Republic and Hungary, because for Hungarians, these are the ethnic Hungarians living in Slovakia who are there and might be, punished collectively again, just like it happened after the Second World War, when many of them had to leave the country. Of course, we don't know what would happen, but the text is very frightening, and that's why the Hungarian diaspora living outside of Hungary is so nervous about the new text, and they don't understand why Orbán has not protested against this new law. And so I try to find an explanation, which I hope is true, that for him at the moment, it is more important to cooperate with Fico than the Hungarian interests.
Right. Do you think the European Parliament or the Commission will step in when it comes to this particular issue, or will they see kind of this issue as between Fico, Orbán, between the two countries themselves?
But I hope that this will be an issue at European level. It has been already an issue before, and the European Parliament has already had a resolution which criticizes the Beneš Decrees because what happened in Czechoslovakia after the Second World War. However, this is not the number one issue at the moment. The number one issue is how the Hungarian elections will occur and whether the opposition, first time after 16 years, will have a chance to challenge Orbán and maybe to win the elections. So that's more at the moment an intra-Slovak Hungarian issue on the surface. But of course, in the middle run or longer run, it might become an all-European issue as well.
All right, so we'll have to see how it develops. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.